Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com, and what you're about to watch is an excerpt that I thought was really important from Froknows Photo Raw Talk episode 35, where we talk about Adobe Creative Cloud. People have been asking me, what are my thoughts on it? Well, we're going to give you that right here in this video, which is an excerpt from that Raw Talk. Also, check out FroKnowsPhoto.com/Raw Talk for the episode that this is from. You can click on the screen at any time to go to that Raw Talk. So here it is, and enjoy it.
We have something big to talk about.
The biggest news of the week.
The biggest news of the week, definitely, for sure. For those who use Adobe products, the Adobe Creative Cloud has been announced, and they're pretty much stopping the Creative Suite.
So no longer can you buy the software.
Yeah.
It now comes down to you're leasing, you're renting. It's like a car.
Pay as you go.
You pay. Well, yeah, you pay per month.
Mm-hmm.
So you want me to go into this?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let's.
Because I wrote a lot of notes. I studied up on this because I wanted to be well educated for this discussion. So basically, Adobe is following in the footsteps of people like Microsoft, and there's a couple of other companies out there who are just doing software that you rent, like Office 360. You rent that. And people are a little angry because they sometimes use the software for 5-10 years, which is a long time to use a software, by the way, without upgrading. Because sometimes the upgrades aren't even that expensive. But if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. The thing is, one of the things they're trying to do is stop people from stealing it.
Pirating, yeah,
which
that was the big
pirating,
issue.
I think my first few copies of Photoshop were pirated because who wanted to spend $800 or who could afford it?
I honestly think all my copies of Photoshop are pirated.
Right. But what?
Not now, of course.
Not now, of course. So what they're trying to do, what they're trying to say is that they can put out updates right away. So they don't have to worry about going from CS6 and then you wait a year and a half, 18 months, whatever, to go to CS7. Whenever they have something new come out, they can focus on that and they can just seed it right out, update your software, and it's subscription based. Now, some of the questions that people have, one, how much is it going to cost? If you want the entire Creative Cloud, which is, I think I wrote down 12 different apps. It includes Photoshop, Illustrator, Lightroom, Premiere, InDesign, Flash,
Audition, I'm
there's
assuming.
all of that. Now, for somebody like you who's doing a lot of video editing and you use Photoshop and you use Lightroom, then $50, it's $50 a month.
Yeah.
I'd end up paying for that for you because you're doing a lot of editing for me, but I think we may end up just doing that because then you'll get the newest version of Premiere and you'll have all the updated stuff. For me, in a business situation, $50 a month, yes, it's cost of doing business. But if you just want to get Photoshop, only Photoshop by itself, or Illustrator, or Premiere, just one app, it's $20. It's $19.99 with a year subscription type thing. So you're locked in. And if you don't want to pay by the year, it's $79 a month, which is a ton. So one, people have asked me what I think about it. That's why we're giving it a lot of time today. I see both sides. It's good and it's weird.
Yeah.
I don't mind a company being forward thinking and starting to try something different. There's always going to be backlash. I think the $20 thing is where people get it with Photoshop. 20, that's 120. What is that? Times 12. It's $120 a year.
Yep.
$240 for the 2-year contract, and that's not bad. But people are saying, well, what happens when I don't rent it anymore? You can't go back and open your files if you don't have the program. The files are still going to work no matter what, Photoshop wise, but you can't go back and open them if you don't have the actual, right? So that's something. Usually, you bought CS4. I'm on CS5. I can still open any Photoshop document because I bought the program. I own that program. Now you don't do that. You lease it. I don't know if I don't think they're going to come out with anything else, but I think that $10 would have been a sweet spot for one thing. I agree. But where does it affect photographers? A lot of people are wondering what's going to happen with Lightroom. Lightroom is not going to this model as of yet.
Yeah,
first off, Lightroom's $149. That's not bad to purchase and own it. They dropped the price in half last year, probably knowing that this stuff was coming. It's still part of the Creative Cloud, so if you are part of the $49.99 a month thing, you're going to still get Lightroom. And what they did say, though, is that there will be other features, more advanced features that are built into the Lightroom for Creative Cloud than what you purchase through Lightroom 4 or possibly even Lightroom 5. So that's something to keep in mind.
And I think too, like just going off the price wise, if you're only going to use it for, say, half a year, or if you're doing a little job on the side or something like that, and instead of spending the full $800 or however much it costs for the actual app itself, doing this lease thing isn't that bad.
It's not bad for that, but I mean, you want to have the program.
I agree, but I'm
Especially
just saying if you're going to use it only for a certain amount of time or a certain period,
right. And then you just get it for the month and then you use it. But who does that as a professional? You go in there. Now, I personally don't go into Photoshop very often. As a photographer, I stay pretty much in Lightroom.
Me too, yeah.
I don't really go and do the retouching. I know that Adam does it, Juan Patino, a lot of people go into Photoshop to do a lot of touching up. But what Lightroom 5 beta has shown us is that there is a lot of features that are in Photoshop that are now coming to Lightroom. All of the retouching stuff, the getting rid of things in the background, being able to draw a line and have that get rid of somebody's hair because it fills it in. Those are things that are being built into Lightroom. So Lightroom, for photographers who don't go into Photoshop and don't want to spend the money for that, will get these options built in to Lightroom now. So that's something that is pretty good to look at. But I have a whole bunch of notes here. Let's see. People are asking, are the files safe? What if you're offline? So how it works is when they say Creative Cloud, you do not have to be connected to the internet in order to use the software. Now, the first time you use it, you have to download the software.
Yeah.
So you download the full version. Instead of getting it on a disk, you download it from the internet, which is the same thing we do with Apple products now. And you have an ID, so you can download that to any computer as long as you sign in with your ID. The same thing happens now with Creative Cloud. You can sync all of your information, all of your presets and all of your shortcuts, so that when you log into, say, my computer and you want to get into Creative Cloud, you just put in your name and password, and
nice.
all of your presets are there. So that is something that is good.
Very convenient.
So what I read on Scott Kelby's blog, being that he's the go-to Photoshop guy because he's in their pocket, because he runs Photoshop Professionals or whatever it is, he said that it's like 99 days offline if you're not, before you run into an issue with using your software. All you have to do is, if you're online, it's going to download updates, it's going to check, it's going to make sure everything's good to go. So what other notes do I have here? I think it's forward thinking. I personally rarely use Photoshop. Style control. Let's see. Lightroom. You need a balance to do the job. I've used. I don't know what else I'm writing here, but there's. Oh yes, I wrote down here that I may do. Well, I've always thought about what is this called? Subscriptions. People always there's people in my field that do photography subscriptions where they charge you $25 a month to get news and information and education seeded to you, but you have to pay for it. YouTube is looking into the subscription-based model for video. I'd consider doing, if I could do that, and it would afford me to bring in a shooting team, start stepping up the game more like we're doing now, then we could focus in on that. We could focus in on spending a little bit of money because the subscription money is there. Still, Frono's Photo is a free site. I don't see going to a subscription model anytime soon, but those sites are out there.
What would the model allow you to do for YouTube? Different than what you're doing now.
You're charging a monthly fee. Say it's $5 a month to have access to just this channel.
Okay.
But it's a certain channel. Yeah,
interesting.
It's subscription only content. So I bet you they'll have it where it says only subscribers can watch this video.
Oh, exactly.
So that could be something where
Lock it down to that.
Yeah, I put on the Frono's Photo show and different things, but that's all down the road, just different ideas. So, let's see. Yes. As a photographer, we're kind of in bed with Adobe. You need it.
Yeah.
You can't not have it. I see people talking about, I'll go use somebody else's software. This is a big mistake. Look, a company has to move forward. A company has to adapt with the times. If they're worried about the piracy, which there still will be people that will end up pirating this somehow, some way.
Sure. They're going to figure it out.
Look at the SimCity did this. You have to be connected to SimCity in order to play it.
You mean online? Yeah.
Which was bad. They made a mistake. So this, you don't have to be connected to the internet, but you can download it to any of your computers. So that's better because that multi-license thing only lets you do 2 computers. Now you can download the cloud anywhere, and as long as you log in, you're good to go. So I see why people are up in arms. I think the price is wrong. I think the $20 for Photoshop, that's way too much for somebody who may not need it
all the time.
They're not a professional. They're a beginner. They're an amateur. They just love doing this. That's a lot of money, $20 a month. It's like you got Spotify, you got Netflix, you got Hulu,
everything.
You have Amazon Prime. All of these things are all subscription based. That's where it's going. So they're just getting there now. It's the pricing. $50 a month's a lot of money. $600 a year. The creative suite was what? $1,200 or so?
Something like that.
So
yeah.
It's like 2 years. But the thing is, they're going to be updating it all the time, giving you new software, new stuff, which you could live without because we're sitting here with CS5 still running it without. I don't have creative aware fill, but whatever. That's going to come in Lightroom. I think we should move on from that. But really, I understand why people are upset. There's always going to be people upset with change. I don't think it's terrible for somebody like me to pay for $50 a month to have Premiere, to have Photoshop, to have Illustrator. I don't use Illustrator. I don't use InDesign.
Yeah.
It's a lot, but Premiere is an expensive program to begin with.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I use everything in Adobe. I go from Premiere to After Effects to Adobe Audition for audio, to Photoshop and Lightroom, obviously.
So then for $50 a month,
it would be worth it.
It would be worth it for you. Now it just matters, can you afford that? And
exactly, on top of my million other bills.
Right.
So.
See, that's just what's going on with subscriptions. So I think we're ready to move on from there and start getting into the rest of the show. I thought that was a major news point.
Definitely.
And we should have hit on it. All right, guys, there you have it. You watch that Creative Cloud thing. For the rest of episode number 35, click on the screen right now. It's going to take you over to the website, froknowsphoto.com/podcast, where you can download this entire episode. Jared Polin, froknowsphoto.com. See ya.